Good morning, Cincinnati, and welcome to Lincoln Ware Live. We're here every Sunday morning, believe it or not, from 10 until 11, and glad you could join us this morning. Memorial Day weekend, got a great show lined up for you today. Going to talk a little bit about the Tuskegee Airmen. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Tuskegee Airmen, you'll find out about them today. Then the second half of the show, my good friend Larry Arnette from The Bottom Line. We'll talk religion, drugs, sex, politics. In other words, your life, coming up with Larry Arnette on the second half of the show. Want to even talk about Simon Lease with the new dress code down at the Justice Center, the tattoos on the police officers they've got to cover up. So we've got a lot to talk about with Larry Arnette coming up on the second half of the show. Right now we've got Tech Sergeant Sam Finley, who is the president of the local chapter for the Tuskegee Airmen. Welcome to the show, Sergeant Finley.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Now, how did you become involved with this chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen? I mean, they're, you know, they're famous.
That's true.
They're famous worldwide. Tell us a little bit about how you became involved.
Yes, the year 2000, a young man by the name of Curtis Hubbard was the original Tuskegee Airman in my church, the First Baptist Church of West College Hill, introduced me to Tuskegee Airmen. And myself, being a historian in a sense, I love the technical things about airplanes and so forth, got deeply involved with Tuskegee Airmen.
Now, how did the Tuskegee Airmen originate? And if callers out there, if you have questions about the Tuskegee Airmen, give us a call at 381-3838 or 651-3838. How did that start?
Back in the start of World War II, even before that point, say 1939, we had been approached to join the Army Air Corps. But because of color of our skin, they would not let us achieve that. And in fact, in 1925, the Ware University of Ware College said that the average Negro brain was 1.8 centimeters smaller than that of a white man. It could not attain the same things the white man could attain.
So they couldn't learn the instruments. They never could learn how to fly a plane.
In fact, we were supposedly inferior to what white men do.
And so the Tuskegee Airmen threw that right out of the window.
That's true. That's true.
So who gave them? How did they get permission to even start the unit?
4 young men sued the United States government in 1940, and they said, well, we got to do something with these young men because they don't want a lawsuit that big at that time, and the war was going on overseas. So in 1941, they got together and chose a number of places for the gentlemen to go learn this tack of flying airplanes. And they chose Tuskegee, Alabama, because there's racial segregation in part of Alabama where it was.
Now, did they give them inferior planes didn't work very well, or what did they have?
Well, it was thought so at first, but no.
Yeah, okay. Who thought that? Who was saying this stuff is inferior?
Well, that has not been proven to be a known fact, but the gentlemen were just eager to go and show the people that they could fly airplanes.
Okay, so they went there and they learned to fly. And who was overseeing this? I mean, I'm sure they had some white general or somebody watching these guys to see what they were doing.
His name was Noel Parrish. He was from Lexington, Kentucky, of all places. And he was, hell-bent on the fact that these gentlemen could achieve flying status. And they proved they could.
And so then, after they achieved the status, when were they shipped out overseas?
They waited until the year 1943 to be shipped to North Africa. And they took their superior airplane at the time, the P-40 Warhawk.
Now, in the movie about the Tuskegee Airmen, there was a part where, who was it? Eleanor Roosevelt flew with one of them. How did that work? Tell us about that.
She had heard about the Tuskegee Airmen experience, and she wanted to go down to prove to her husband that Negro Americans could fly airplanes. In the movie, you see a Lieutenant Lee flying her because of Hollywood and wanted an officer to fly him. And indeed, it was Chief Anderson who learned his flying skills from Willis E. Brown, but from Chicago. He took her on her first flight around the circuit, and she came back and said, indeed, Negroes can fly airplanes. And she went back home and influenced her husband to further the program on, so that became Tuskegee Airmen. Okay.
And when was their first combat action?
1943, over North Africa.
Okay, and so after they, I guess they shot some planes down and...
Well, no, not at first. They were doing the milk runs. They did the strafing and the bombing runs, and that got to be old hat, and they wanted to get into combat to prove their worth.
Okay, now when did they do that?
That's when they went to Italy.
Okay, and they got into combat, and When did they open any eyes? When did people say, wow, these guys?
Well, if you remember the movie very well, when they escorting bombers and they shot down 2 airplanes that were about to attack the bombers, and the guys said, who were flying those airplanes? Said, no, that's really some good skill in aerial gunnery. And when the airplane landed at Roman Telly Airfield, and they found out it was all black, they said, no, this could not be.
Yeah.
In fact, a gentleman from Texas, he said he had a pretty good excerpt deleted about how Negroes are supposed to be. He knows them and all that kind of stuff until he saw them fly airplanes.
Right. So they said, boy, you mean a black man did that?
Yes, right.
So they were shocked. So were they accepted at that point or what?
Oh, it took a while. Still took a while. After a few times, they escorted bombers to 200 different missions, never lost a bomber in enemy aircraft fire. They sort of finally realized, well, these guys are good.
Yeah.
And they were good in the air and on the ground also, as far as strafing targets and what have you.
Right.
In fact, the Tuskegee Airmen can boast to say they were the only unit in World War II to sink a destroyer with gunfire from an airplane.
Wow. So they had a pretty good resume
Yes, they
going.
did. They did.
Now, how can people, you got some photographs.
Yes.
Can we see some photographs of
Sure.
what they were actually, we'll take a break first. Let's take a break first, then we'll come back and show some photographs of some of the airplanes that they were flying and things like that. So we'll take a quick break. And by the way, if you want to jump on board, 381-3838. 651-3838, that's the number. If you've got any questions about the Tuskegee Airmen, they can be answered today right here on Lincoln Ware Live. Back in a moment. And we're back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. I'm here with Tech Sergeant Sam Finley. He's the president of the local chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen, and we're talking about World War II and some of the things that the Tuskegee Airmen had to go through just to prove themselves, just to prove they were worthy of fighting for this country. And, it's a shame that they have to go through so much just to fight for the country.
That's true.
And now people see why Michelle Obama said for the first time she can be proud of her country. Now you get the meaning of what she was talking about.
In fact, during World War II, you see in the movie, the gentleman took a test, and they aced the test coming into the program. And little was known the fact that if they failed one part of their program, whereas the white counterparts would get 4 or 5 times to pass the same part of the program, Tuskegee Airmen were washed out. Jeez. From the first class of 13, only 5 made it. And they made one little small error, maybe about 1 point,
and
wiped out the whole program.
Gee. That's unbelievable.
But
All right.
that was America at that time.
Yeah, that's right. We've got phone calls, and we'll go to the phones. 381-3838, 651-3838. Don't forget, coming up, second half of the show, Larry Arnette with the bottom line. Ward, how are you?
Good morning, gentlemen. How y'all doing this morning?
Pretty good.
It's fine.
Okay.
Turn your TV down.
Yeah, I'm in the process.
Can you put that on mute?
I'm
You're
sorry.
killing me here.
But what I was going to say was, first, congratulations to the Tuskegee Airmen. I know I wasn't around, when it was, inventing the things. But I just want to say, congratulations for y'all service. And the point I wanted to make was that, black people don't get, a lot of credit for anything, especially the credit that I think that y'all deserve is long overdue. But what I'm saying, what I would like to say is, besides having any kind of monuments or anything named after you guys, black people don't own a lot of stuff these days. So is it any way possible that a business or some kind of operation or organization can arise out of the Tuskegee Airmen for blacks can have something that they can really say that's
so like
ours?
a monument or something like that?
Yes,
Yeah.
a monument or organization or anything that we can just say that, yeah, this is ours, it's just, because we don't own anything and we don't have anything, so that's all I had to say, sir.
All right, thanks for your call. Yeah, what about something that I'm sure down in Tuskegee, Alabama, there's
That's going to
probably
be
something.
a war museum. We have a monument up at Wright-Patterson, out the Air Force Academy, and up at Detroit at what they call that place, the historic Fort Wayne. And they show all those, and there are going to be some more. And the one that's out of Colorado Springs is simply beautiful. It shows a man, his equipment getting ready to go to his airplane. He's ready to fly.
Okay. Now, you've got some photographs here.
Yes, I do.
Let us take a look at some of them.
Okay, first one is going to be, this is correct. These are the airplanes they flew From the Stearman, it was up the top of the photograph down to the P-40 in training. It took the P-40 into combat, which is somewhat obsolete when they fought against the German aircraft, but they were able to achieve aerial gunnery and shoot down German airplanes with an obsolete airplane.
So the Germans had more superior airplanes
Yes, they did.
than what the Tuskegee Airmen had.
Yes, when they first went into combat.
Okay, but they still were able to
To
shoot
do the
that.
job.
Okay.
If you want to see a better picture of a P-40, it would be this aircraft here.
Okay.
That's the one shown from over in the Asian theater operations.
Mm-hmm.
Then they graduated from the P-40s to P-39s, and I photographed that, or P-47, and finally went to the P-51, which is the Cadillac of airplanes. Let me get this picture correctly. And you see on top is the P-51C model with the small canopy. The one on the bottom is the P-51D with the clear canopy. This is where they achieved most of their aerial gunnery and most of the best success as far as air combat was concerned. And no one can say this, but of all these gentlemen that went to combat, the bomber pilots, when they were in trouble, wanted to see the red tails. The red tail came about because everybody else had their colors and they wanted something to stand out really brightly.
And the Tuskegee Airmen had red
tails.
Okay.
And they knew who was flying against them. Even the Germans, when they saw red tails escorting bombers back that were crippled, they would not attack the airplanes.
Really?
They knew they were that good.
Now see, why didn't they get more credit than they actually received? You know, if that's really something.
That's true.
You know, the enemy backs off when they see a certain type of a fighter there
That's
protecting
true.
the bomber.
Well, I guess as our dear country is concerned, we just didn't want to back us up.
Yeah, yeah.
We were supposed to be serving something, carrying something, digging something, or repairing something, not never being in the limelight of the white guy in World War II. See, we didn't have the white hat, the white horse, and the white gun to fly and go through different things that happened in World War II. But we were supposed to be the second-class citizens. We proved we could do what was necessary, but they wouldn't be publicized.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable that. And what happened after World War II when they came back? What happened with the Tuskegee Airmen then? I mean,
when they came home from World War II, as my dad would say, he got off a ship, he saw a sign that said, colored this way, white this way. They still hadn't learned anything.
Yeah, right.
And when the gentlemen would be on trains going south, they had to give up their seats for German prisoners of war. And they said, how can you fight for a country like this? And I'll put it best as a young man from Lima, Ohio, would say, his name is C.I. Williams, retired lieutenant colonel. I was born here. That's why we fight for our country.
Now, so you make the black soldiers get up so the German prisoners of war could sit down, could have a seat.
That's right.
And, you know, how could anybody want to fight for a country like that was treating them like that at that time? That took a lot of guts.
It sure did. It took a lot of stamina. It took a lot of pride. It took a lot of manhood to stand up to things like that.
I'm telling you. I mean, you know, you got a prisoner of war, and you're saying he's better than you, and you live in this country.
That's true.
Unbelievable.
But that was America in 1945.
Yeah. Unbelievable what they had to go through. And so after the war is over, these guys, how many original Tuskegee Airmen are still alive?
United States-wise, 128.
128?
Cincinnati has 7 original still living.
Okay.
And out of 15,000 people went through that program from 1941, 1946. We achieved 992 pilots in that status out of 2,978. We already talked about 200 missions. They escorted bombers without losing a bomber to enemy aircraft fire. They attained 864 medals during that period of time, which weren't given to later on in life, like 60 years later. And then also we can boast the fact that Executive Order 9981, which integrated the armed forces in 1947, given by Harry S. Truman, was because of that.
Wow. Let's go to the telephone. Cindy, how are you?
Good.
What's on your mind?
The closing of Jeff Ruby's restaurant.
The what?
The closing of Jeff Ruby's restaurant?
What does that have to do with the Tuskegee Airmen? Is anybody screening these people? It's what I want to know. Unbelievable. Oh, boy. Now, how can someone maybe bring you or one of the Tuskegee Airmen into their schools to talk to the students? Is that possible?
Yes, we have a website. It's Tuskegee Airmen Chapter, CincinnatiChapter.org. And we meet every second Saturday at Silverton Municipal Building. That's at 10 o'clock. and you can contact us. I'll leave a card with you.
Okay.
And that way you can contact us. We're glad to talk to civic groups, churches, educational facilities. We go from 5th grade on up. And you'd be surprised what 5th graders I asked you as far as when you give a speech of this type. And they're very, adept to what is going on.
Yeah.
I asked about your air combat. Of course, if you went in an airplane, so, oh, what did you do? Did you shoot someone once? Did someone shoot you? No.
Right.
We tell them the achievements that happened during that period of time. In my own status, and tooting my own horn, I was supervised over about 15 men doing it back in my tenure in the Air Force, and on a flight line.
Okay.
And that's when we get technically involved with an airplane, you mean from A to Z. See, we got to understand Tuskegee Airmen is not only the pilots, it's the people who worked on the ground, from the lady in the office to the one that got in the airplane, flew the airplane through combat. You got to make that distinction because a lot of people, oh, weren't you a pilot? Or you want a Tuskegee? Oh, no,
they
it's not all.
support.
That's
you
support.
Had to have the ground
yes,
support.
indeed.
Yeah.
It takes 8 people to get one airplane off the ground into the air.
Okay. All right. Tech Sergeant Sam Finley, I want to thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome.
I mean, a lot of information there, and people can invite you guys to come out to the schools, talk to the students, because they need to hear this.
Yes, they do.
They need to hear what a fantastic crew, the Tuskegee Airmen were, and what they did for this country, and really didn't get the recognition that they deserve.
That's very well true. We do all the air shows during the year, and we do at least 30 speeches a year.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me this
You're welcome.
morning.
Thank you for having
All righty.
me.
Let's take a quick break. Then we'll come back and find out what's on the mind of Larry Arnette right here on Lincoln Ware Live. Coming up in just a few minutes on It's 38. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come back after these messages. And we're back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. And my guest, as promised, the second half of the show right here, Larry Arnette. Larry Arnette, what's going on?
Nothing much, Link. It's great to be here. I'm a little upset because I thought from talking to you, I thought maybe Reverend Shannon was going to be in here today, one of your great callers from your radio show. And I thought he was on today. I thought maybe I was misinformed. I thought he's writing a book, Trickology.
Right. Everything is ology.
Right. I wanted to hear and see what the whole new phenomenon of trickology is, but I guess he's not going to be here.
Well, I guess not, but there's a lot going on in the news. You got Hillary Clinton making a reference to the assassination of Robert Kennedy in June of 1968. You've got Sheriff Simon Lease, checking, selling his police officers. If it's 90 degrees outside, if you've got tattoos on your arms, you got to wear a long sleeve shirt. I can't blame him for that. I agree. I don't want some guy with tattoos all up and down his arm writing me a ticket.
Well, I think he's kind of going back to the, one of the things, if anybody's been to New York or was in New York in the early 70s, and Times Square was this mess that it had a bunch of, skin parlors, massage parlors, and, down and dirty, porno shops.
Yeah.
And he cleaned it up, and one of the things he was big on was cleaning up the image of New York. He didn't want graffiti, he didn't want, maybe I think that's where he's coming from. He wants people to carry on a certain kind of a level of decency, to go back to a word that he was very much involved in back in the Larry Flint days.
The Larry Flint days. Speaking of decency, even if you're going to see somebody in jail, you have to dress decent.
Right, and I heard your callers on this topic last week, and I was amazed by how many people had firsthand knowledge of the whole culture down there at the Justice Center.
Most people have had, somebody in the justice system at some point. Maybe it's a distant cousin or somebody, and they've gone to visit them. Even I've gone down there to visit people that I know that's been in trouble. So, but yeah, I think things are getting out of hand down there. Women coming up wearing no clothes, not having any underwear on, and then showing their boyfriends or husbands giving them a little shot, something to keep them motivated.
And you even said that on certain days, I guess you could go outside of in fact, I noticed that once when I was serving jury duty, was how many people or outside, I
Yeah.
guess, waving and
Yeah,
but
and
you
they
were-
flash, and they often flash their boyfriend.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Maybe, you know, it's an idea. Maybe you can do a live feed from the Justice Center for this show one of these days and kind of go down there and kind of talk to these people and
talk
see
to
what's
them,
going
see what's
on.
on their mind. Now, Hillary Clinton, should she quit or what? You know, is it over for
Well,
her? Why is she still in the race?
You got to remember that a week from this Tuesday is going to be June 3rd. That will be the last primary. And after that, one of two things are going to happen. Either she's going to concede and it'll be over, or she's going to say that she's going to take it to the convention. And, you know, as far as the thing about Bobby Kennedy, that's June 3rd, June 5th. Coming up a couple of days later that week, there's a good article, by the way, I've been reading in Vanity Fair magazine about Bobby Kennedy in that race. Yeah, I think she's in denial. I think she's almost grief-stricken. Where what she said the other day was some last gasp of desperation to try to throw something out there, which was very inappropriate, to bring up the whole assassination thing. Only because, let's face it, there's been threats against Obama.
Yeah. I mean, he was the first candidate to receive Secret Service protection because of all the threats.
Well, remember back in 1968, after Kennedy was killed. That's when they started the whole thing about giving Secret Service protection to candidates.
Right.
And the funny thing about this article, not the funny thing, but what's interesting was when he started his campaign, and we're, you know, a lot of retrospective stuff going on now, and because it's 40 years since 1968, you know, that pivotal, tragic year, as it turned out. A lot of reporters, when he first started his campaign, he was getting incredible reaction, like in places like Kansas. And the reporters would get together after that first stop and say, man, he's really got it. He's going to go all the way. And one of the reporters, a guy named Lindsay from Newsweek at the time, said, he's not going to go all the way because he's going to get shot. And the other reporters agreed. And this was before Martin Luther King was killed. But they knew that he wasn't going to make it. And sure enough. And that's the thing now today with the new threats against Obama, for her to open her mouth.
I know. And Huckabee, the same thing.
Right.
Huckabee last week. Did you hear what he said? You know,
right, it was a joke at the NRA, and you know what's amazing is, and I said on your show, I voted for Obama in the primary. I think he's the right guy for the right time right now. But having said all that, I think the Democrats are set up for the third consecutive campaign that they should have won, and they're going to lose again. And you know, we've talked about this. I just don't think America is ready to vote for an African American. Barely ready for a woman.
Right.
I think they would have voted for a woman. They just don't like Hillary.
Yeah, you're right. Any other female probably would have just, you know, beat Obama hands down. I believe you're right. They don't like Hillary. And yeah, you're right. I don't think this country, it's changing. It's getting better.
It is.
It's getting better.
But if you looked at some of the out-polling interviews that they did after now granted, this was West Virginia and Kentucky.
When they marry their cousins, you know.
Right. I mean, if you heard some of those comments or read them, they were just very, you know, they weren't even that subliminal. They were almost racist.
You know, I voted for him. I didn't vote for him because he's black. Simple as that. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying.
And now there's a lot of this white reaction. I'm hearing it here and there. I heard it this morning on some show. I think it was a C-SPAN call-in show where somebody actually claimed that, no, it's actually the African Americans who are voting for Obama who are racist because they won't even look at a white candidate.
Right. Well, I mean, when have we ever had a choice?
Well, I said that on my radio show the other day. I get a lot of right-wing callers on my show, and they said the same thing. They said, well, the African Americans, they're the ones that are racist. They're only voting for Obama because he's black. And I said, well, when was the last time they had a legitimate candidate of the African American who was running?
We never had anybody else to vote for. So I see what you're saying. 513-381-3838, 651-3838. If you have comments on any of the things we've talked about so far this morning, Larry Arnette is my guest. Let's go to the telephones. Let's start it off this morning with Miss Mary. Mary, how are you?
Oh, I'm mad because I can't do what I want outside. I want to cut my hair just and my knees and hips hurt. Arthritis is just kicking me around.
Why don't you just have them amputated? If they're, you know, just have the doctor cut them off.
Then I won't be able to get out there at all.
Well, you can't do it now anyway.
I can hop out there. I stay in the house enough, so I like this weather.
What's on your mind?
I want to say, I don't know, it's a done deal with Hillary. She's going to be the vice president to unite the party. They're going to make her be the
Well,
they go advisor.
Well, see,
and her
that's,
husband even wanted to be one now, wanted to be the vice
well,
president.
see, that's the thing. I don't know. I think Obama, if he can win, I think he can win without Hillary. He's got to be very careful on who he chooses for his vice presidential running mate. But I don't think, I think Hillary is not the person to be on his ticket. She goes against everything that he's been talking about.
Well, she's an old lady and she's under pressure. Are you listening?
Yeah.
She's under pressure and she don't know how to act because she just didn't believe this black man was going to beat her. And you know that, and a whole lot of other folks know that. We all got to adjust to that because this is history.
We got to adjust to a black man beating a white woman, huh?
Yeah, and being a whole lot of white men too, being president, that's something. That's great. We got to pray hard for him.
All right.
You have a good one.
I got to go. Thanks for your call. Yeah, I mean, it is a big, America is just not ready for this. Is too much, too soon, do you think?
I do think it is, and it's too bad because you and I, we've been around long enough now. We've seen a lot of the progress go on, but yet I think, I don't see it. I hope I'm wrong. I'm sure you do. I hope that it would be the biggest shock to me if he wins the presidency.
I would love to see it happen.
And the bad thing is, look at all the inept candidates that the Democrats have been putting forth.
Oh, yeah.
Dukakis, Gore, Kerry. These are guys that should have won at least their campaigns.
Kerry, I don't even know how he even got the nomination. How did he ever get the nomination?
Oh, I think it was by default. I don't think there was anybody else. They figured the guy did actually go to Vietnam. I think that was a key. He goes to Vietnam, and he actually loses to a guy who, let's face it, got out of the draft by going in the National Guard.
Let's go to Marie. Marie, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good.
I'd like to make a brief comment, please. As far as Hillary is concerned, Hillary is like a great musician to me. She's been ever pulling out tricks out of her hat. She's played the compassion card. She's played the women card. When she sat there and said that she always wondered what it felt like to have a black guy with her. Did you see that comment that day when she made it on TV?
She said what now?
She made a comment about she'd always wondered what it felt like to have a black guy with her.
I never heard of
Yeah,
that.
and I pay attention to everything that she says because she's
Sure
really
Bill
a
was
snake in the
thrilled to hear
grass.
that.
And she's, like I said, she's played every card she has so far, but she has not dug at the bottom. I still believe that she's a Bush person. I always will believe that Bill Clinton was a Bush person.
Was a
they
what
are
person?
not broke. Bush.
Oh, Bush, okay.
Yeah, and they're not broke. Believe me.
Well, no, they're not. The campaign is broke, but they're not broke.
No,
yet.
that campaign is not. But you watch at the end. If she thinks she can pull something through, the Bush is going to help her to pull that through.
Huh?
Because they will still be Bush people in that office, and Bush and his guys will still be running it.
Oh boy, I think that's a stretch. But thanks for your call anyway.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, let's go to a break and then we'll come back. Don and Marie and others. Maury, hold on. We'll come to you. 381-3838, 513 is the area code. 651-3838 is the other number you can dial if you want to jump on board. We'll take a break and we'll return in a moment. We are back live. Lincoln Ware Live is the program. Larry Arnette with 2 T's, my guest this morning. Anyway, let's go to Maury. Maury, good morning. You have a question?
Yeah, I have a comment. I just was hearing about, the Barack and Hillary comments that were being made. I'm an African-American female, and I did vote for Hillary. And
Okay. Why? Why did you do that?
honestly, I did it because I felt that if she did get the presidency, that she would make Barack her vice president,
Okay.
and that's the reason why I did it. I agree totally with Barack. I would rather have Barack be president, but I would just rather have him be somewhere as president or vice president. So that's why I voted for Hillary.
Okay.
Because I felt that she would be the one to decide that he would be vice president.
Oh boy.
Another thing that I wanted to state is that I don't feel that blacks are just voting for him because he's black. Some, yes, but not all.
No, no. I mean, we've had Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton run, and blacks didn't give them overwhelming support like they're giving Barack Obama.
But Obama is more of a legitimate nominee, obviously, than they ever were.
Yeah,
And that's just the way it is. And he speaks in ways that really are attracting, let's face it, millions upon millions of people, in ways that Sharpton and Jackson, they really repulsed a certain segment of the population.
And not only that, so that's why I was calling too, because you brought up a good point. Like, they did run for presidency, and black people didn't vote for him. But it's not because Obama is black; it's because he makes sense in what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there, I think, I just proved my point. Black people just don't vote for black people. Just because they're black, they have to make sense because we want to change.
All right.
So, thank you.
Hey, thanks for your call. And you're right. I think there was a certain population of blacks who voted for Hillary, stayed, with Hillary.
Well, we got to remember the Clintons. Remember, they called Bill the first black president.
Yeah.
They really had a lot of appeal to the black population. I do think that with the comment that Bill made in South Carolina was really damaging.
Oh, yeah.
So under whatever circumstances, after he dismissed Obama's win there, as though, Jesse Jackson won here.
Yeah.
And once he did that, man, you could almost hear the lights click off. That's it, we're done with them.
Yeah,
they had a chance possibly of picking up some support there.
So if Hillary loses, she can blame it on Bill.
I think she's going to need a grief counselor for a while. I think she's going to be in serious depression. Remember when Gore, after he lost 2000, how he gained all that weight and put a beard on?
Yeah, you're right. Jane. Hey, Jane.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing fine.
What's on your mind?
Well, I was saying, I don't care who becomes president, as long as they do something about these illegal immigrants.
Oh, boy. I'd rather them do something about the high gasoline prices. The immigrants I can live with.
I remember when it was 18 cents a gallon.
I can't live with the gas prices.
I can remember when it was 18 cents a gallon.
I can remember that, too.
But, I can remember that. I can remember when rent was $35, too. You know?
But I'd rather us get the gas prices lower, and I can live with the illegal immigrants.
Well, I can't. I can live with it if they take the test.
What has one of them done to you?
Well, it's just that they don't take the test, And I would like to know is what does our country have that their country don't have?
Money.
They got money, we got money. They get free taxes when they come over here for 7 years.
Jobs and money.
Money? Where?
They can't make the type of money over there that they make here.
Really?
They just can't do it. No.
Well, I don't make that much money. I don't make $30 an hour.
And just think, it's even low. They make something like $5 a day over there in Mexico. Wow. When they can make that in an hour and more here.
Okay, then come and take the test to come over here.
All right. Thanks for your call.
Okay.
All right. Let's go to Carol. Carol, how are you?
Good morning. How are you, too?
Pretty good.
Great. I just turned this show on about 20 minutes ago.
What took you so long?
To get through. Very interesting topic. I have called before, and I have had the great opportunity in the past of meeting at one time Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, and Reverend Bill Land, and Maureen Sullivan, who's director of Urban Appalachian Council. If some people could follow these people's ways, it might be a better world. And I'm going to leave you with the saying of walk a mile in my shoes before you judge me.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What all that meant?
I don't know. But I think Obama is, no matter what happens, even if he loses, he's still going to bring things and make it easier for the next person who's an African American to run. It's just that he's really got a good message. I think if there's one thing about the American people, I think most people would agree something fundamental really does need to change in Washington. Yeah. If it doesn't, then we're not going to be progressing anywhere. I'm fed up with the Democratic Party. I think they're feeble in a lot of ways. This farm bill they just passed, it had a lot of pork in it. So the Democrats talk the game like they're going to do things differently, but it's the same deal.
But I tell you, where Barack Obama will stand out and where he'll make his mark is being able to communicate with some of these other countries that are our enemies.
Right.
And I think these people will be willing to sit down and talk to him and maybe work something out.
I believe that, and that is one of my key points for wanting him in office. I really do. I think that'll show the rest of the world that America has moved on.
Yeah.
And I think this guy represents a change that maybe we can work with.
I'm telling you, we'll be back in normal relations with Cuba in 2 years. I guarantee you.
And I got news for you. If we ever get back and trade with them, and I think the reason why we never did it after a while was if we would have started trade with Castro and then their economy would have taken off, which it will because people will flock to Florida. It's 90 miles away and you're in the Caribbean. Then if the economy would have taken off, it would have made it look like, oh, well, Castro succeeded in the final analysis, so we didn't want to help him out.
Right.
But one thing I can say about the oil, here's a way for Bush to really end his presidency, which has been a disaster, on a high note. He goes to Iraq, he tells them, look, make it look like your idea, give us free or low budget oil for 2 years. If that was to happen, we got ships coming in on a regular basis from the second biggest oil reserve besides Saudi Arabia in the Mideast, his numbers would go up. It would almost make the Iraq war look like it was worth it because we were getting the oil we really need. And he would end his presidency on a high note.
Either make them pay for this war. They're making 100 million,
They got
100 billion a year.
They got 48 billion in the bank right now. And we're still, in charge of reconstruction.
Right. That's crazy. It's crazy. Let's go to Eric. Eric, good morning.
Good morning to you, Lincoln. Good morning, you guest.
Hey.
My thoughts on Barack Obama running for president and the whole Hillary Clinton thing. I think that it's all been a giant smokescreen, and that because like you guest said, the Democratic Party has been very feeble, and they always do the same thing, and that is they say that they're going to represent change, but then it ends up to where the Republicans actually do make the changes toward the left. Or toward the right, to the extremes. But what I'm saying is that this whole fight that has been staged by claiming that now it's time for a black president, now it's time for a woman president. If we look at what Mr. McCain is doing, he's already going around the world acting as president. He's already going straight behind Bush, or Bush is going behind him, shoring up the places. In the case of the OPEC nation.
Well, the Democrats can do the same thing. McCain, Obama can go, Hillary can go. They're senators. They can go wherever they want to go.
But the fact of the matter is that they haven't. And the whole fight that they've been going
because they're too busy campaigning here in the States.
I understand we call it campaigning, but really they're just having some type of personality conflict that's being promoted. And what's happening is McCain is already going around the country, going around the world, acting as president.
All right, thanks for your
He's got a good point, because he did, he won his nomination more or less early. So it's like in sales, they call it the assumption close. You remember the old days. The assumption close. He's just assuming, and he's making it look like he's not just the nominee, but he's the president. So he is already, establishing that in people's minds.
I'm looking presidential.
And they're feeling.
I'm going here.
And they're feeling comfortable. One thing I wanted to throw in: a lot of people forget this quote from LBJ when he signed the 1964 Civil Rights legislation. He said, "This is a really historic thing, but the Democrats are going to lose the South for a generation." He was right on that. But because the Democrats are so feeble, they lost the South. They still have lost the South. That'll be the key for Obama, too. Can he get enough of the African-American population in the South to come out and vote for him and turn things around?
I think they'll win Alabama, I believe, Democrats. I think they'll win Georgia.
For all the good things about the African-American vote down there, you're going to have the reactionary white people coming out, too. That's what's going to be interesting to watch in the South.
It's going to be very interesting. Let's go to Steve. Steve, how are you?
I'm good.
What's
I
on
have
your
a couple of questions. There's like two different stories about Obama. People saying that white people won't vote for him, yet he's winning with Wyoming, states like Wyoming. I'd like to ask, why is that? And I have a comment. Hello?
Yeah.
My comment is that I vote for issues, and rather than the person's skin necessarily. I like both Obama and Clinton, actually. And my question to you, if McCain wins, as you believe, do you think that he will do what President Bush did or tried to do? Do you think he'll try to privatize Social Security
Yeah.
And put all the risk on individuals.
I believe he probably will. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. If McCain is elected, it's just like a third Bush term.
Right, and that's what the Democrats hopefully have in there. I mean, if they can't win this campaign, if they can't win in 2008, I mean, Bush's ratings are the worst in polling history.
I know.
But if they can't win now, they have to really look back and think, because now they've got effective campaigners. Either Hillary or, to be honest, well, obviously Obama are going to, I think, decimate McCain on the campaign trail.
Oh, yeah, and especially during the debates.
Yeah.
I don't think he can think fast enough, and either one of them will be able to just make America think twice. Oh, boy, do we really want this guy? We already got a dumb president in office. Do we want a guy that's thinking slow?
I say the Republicans are going to bring out the old fear factor, and it's going to work again.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but,
America scares easily.
Very easily. Look back through time, the commies.
You say boo to America.
Right. Look at the commie scare.
Yes. All right, let's go to Doretha. Doretha, real quick.
Yes, Mr. Ware. I was saying because of
Oh, sorry.
See, she was scared.
She was
and
scared.
I'm telling you, that's how quick it happens.
And Larry, they're going to scare me if I don't say we're out of time.
Okay, man.
Hey, thank you for joining me.
Seeing you.
When can they check you out? The Bottom Line on
Thursdays, 5 to 6, 88.3 FM, and it's larrysbottomline.com, one word, just the way it sounds.
All right, there you go. We'll take a break, and I'll come back and wrap things up, tell you what's coming up at noon today, and when you can see this show again on your TV set. We'll be back in just a few moments. And we're back to wrap things up. Coming up at noon today, Ryan Reynolds, David Paymer, School of Life. You don't want to miss that at noon today. If you want to see this show again, and I can't see why you wouldn't want to see this show again, 8 o'clock tonight on WOTH Channel 25. That's at 8 o'clock. Then following the rebroadcast of this show, Andrew Young presents Continent of Opportunity. That's at 9 o'clock on WOTH Channel 25. Don't forget, check me out on 1230 The Buzz, Monday through Friday from 10 till 2. We'll see you next week right here, 10 o'clock on Lincoln Ware Live. See you next week.